Red Bull slams Mercedes. It seems like there is someone who is not impressed with how Mercedes has managed to turn their season around with the new W14. Red Bull's team principal, Christian Horner, has sent shots towards the Brackley team as he is not that impressed with the upgrades and has expressed that in a direct way. With the Canada Grand Prix coming up this weekend, will we see Horner swallow his words or will he get proven right? Let's take a look. Red Bull's RB19, the mechanical marvel masterminded by the genius Adrian Newey, swept every track this season with a staggering 7 victories, 4 1-2 finishes and 6 pole positions in just 7 races. The statistics speak of a dominance so unequivocal, it sends shivers down the spine. In Barcelona, the supremacy displayed was nothing short of breathtaking, a symphony of power, precision and performance. At the helm was Max Verstappen, a modern-day gladiator in a carbon fiber chariot who didn't even break a sweat. Verstappen exhibited such control that he secured the fastest lap in qualifying with just a single attempt, and astonishingly recorded the fastest lap in the race without the aid of DRS and on used tyres. Mercedes, the once dominant titan, found themselves basking in the lesser light of a double podium finish in Catalonia. Although a commendable feat, the glaring 24-second gap between them and the victorious Verstappen was disheartening. The recurring narrative, race after race, paints a telling picture of Red Bull's superiority, and the rest always a significant step behind. And not only that, Mercedes are now even worried about their upgrades, even though the Spanish Grand Prix marked a significant turning point for the stalwart German team. The W14B, as they call it, now bears new side pods, a restructured front suspension and floor, bore the fruits of its metamorphosis, showing great potential. The ambition within the Mercedes camp was very visible. They were ready to dig their heels into the dirt and claw back the deficit with Red Bull. However, team principal Toto Wolff was smart enough to keep the team grounded as he underscored the need for Mercedes craftsmen and engineers to step back, take a moment to truly comprehend the present modifications of their steed before plunging headlong into further enhancements. In an interview, Wolff candidly delved into the nuances of the ambitious plan to boost the car's performance because the accelerated incorporation of upgrades, while invigorating, has led to a swift of inquiries that demanded resolution. Wolff noted a crucial warning. The rapid pace at which the updates were embraced didn't afford the team the luxury of time to examine the modifications in detail, which is a standard procedure with typical updates. Therefore, an analysis was in order before setting sights on the next series of advancements. We just need to continue to grind away because it's not so much about how quick it is, it's about how good our understanding is, he said. We've been rushing things over the last 2 months, and that worried us because it was a little bit circumventing the process, but so far it has paid off. Wolff urged his team not to fall into the trap of complacency, and he warned Mercedes against misconstruing the promising performance at the Spanish Grand Prix as an assured indicator that they were on the right trajectory to catch up to Red Bull. Drawing parallels from the past, he expressed confidence that the present circumstances are very different from the situation a year ago. Back then, an anticipated leap in speed post the Spanish Grand Prix hadn't materialized in the following races, as Mercedes failed to deliver, but Wolff is cautious this time not to be swept away by this wave of optimism prematurely. Even though Mercedes did really well at Barcelona, Horner believes that we need to see the bigger picture. He thinks Mercedes made so many changes to their car that they probably used up a lot of their money, and this means they might not have much left to make improvements for the rest of the races this year. He also points out that Hamilton finished the race in Spain a full 24 seconds after Max Verstappen, almost the same as when Fernando Alonso ended up 26 seconds behind the second-place driver Sergio Perez in Bahrain. So Horner doesn't think Mercedes is catching up to the other teams any faster. Asked by motorsport.com how much genuine progress he felt Mercedes had made, Horner said, "For sure they've made a step, but they've introduced pretty much a B-spec car, so they must have used a significant proportion of their development budget on that. And I think that when I look at the gap at the end of the race, it is very similar to where it was in Bahrain. All that is happening is the running order behind us seems to vary from race to race. You know, Fernando last weekend in Monaco, Mercedes this weekend. It will be interesting to see how that plays out over the next few races." Horner says that his team deserves praise for the way that it has been able to maintain its advantage in F1, despite having only made small improvements to its RB19 challenger. "The team are just doing an incredible job, being extremely efficient," said Horner. "You can see we've very subtly developed the car since Bahrain, while we've seen others bringing significant upgrades now. The margin has remained pretty much the same from where it was in Bahrain, so that's hugely encouraging to everybody in Milton Keynes that is doing an outstanding job at the moment." With the cost cap penalty approaching for Red Bull, is this all mind games from Christian Horner to get the pressure off his team with Mercedes' convincing Barcelona display? Maybe, but there are several points here that need to be looked at. Verstappen is getting in his prime years. If he weren't such a talented individual, the cars would be much closer, also at the front. After all, it is only the Red Bull car with Max in it which is running away from the rest. The other car does not. Besides, the cost cap will have an effect after a few racing seasons. If you take a look at qualifying, you'll see that all cars are closer than in the previous season. So it is a slow working method of bringing the field together. That is also the only way it can work, as some teams had a bigger advantage than others when the cost cap was enacted upon. It simply takes time to erode those advantages away, and the cost cap was, and will be the best way to have a much more equal field, and the movement of personnel between teams will have its effect too. But when teams demand garden leave for key personnel, the effects will be noticed slower than on the field. With each following season, you will notice the effect of the cost cap rule more and more, unless you happen to employ both Verstappen and Newey, which seems to be the combination that is difficult to beat when those two work together. It's a fact that Mercedes is improving a lot. As a matter of fact, I put them the second best team right now, and no one is trying to undermine that. But another thing to note is that Red Bull is so far ahead right now that, as Wolff said, they probably will not be able to compete with them in 2023. So the goal of Mercedes is to find a way to develop a car good enough to compete with the Austrian team in the next seasons, and to stay ahead of Ferrari and Aston Martin as much as they can. But all of this doesn't mean that Red Bull should be confident and relaxed. On the contrary, their cost cap and wind tunnel restrictions will open the way even more for the Silver Arrows, and even for Ferrari and Aston Martin to catch up to them and make this season as much interesting as they can. Will they? That's what we are excited to see, and that is what we are hoping, or at least us neutral fans. If I were you, I'd keep a very close eye on the Canada Grand Prix this weekend. It should give us the answer of whether Mercedes' Barcelona performance was a fluke, or they are really onto something here. It also will give us a better idea of where Ferrari really are right now, because the Scuderia struggling is pretty much a normal thing right now. And also there is Aston Martin as well, who, even though they enjoyed the title surprise of the season up until now, everyone expects them to perform as well. So there is a lot of pressure on every team below Red Bull right now, and in a way this is becoming a survival of the fittest battle where only one team can come out on top, with the rest being left in the dust. It will be very interesting to see, if not who wins the race and the championship, then certainly who is second place and who has the potential to battle Red Bull in 2024. What are your thoughts about this? Can Mercedes actually battle Red Bull? And is Red Bull concerned a bit? Thank you for watching Racing Zone, and we will see you in the next video.